and welcome back to Workplace Wisdom Podcast. I'm your host, Brock Holland. I'm here with guest Kayla Norris, from owner of Marketing Mainstreet, a full-service marketing agency helping local businesses here in Northwest Arkansas. Thank you so much for being here, Kayla.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Marketing Mainstreet is doing some exciting things. Of course, I'm in the digital space as well as an owner, but met Kayla through some networking events. Mm-hmm. And then now we've got some projects we're working on, but I wanted to invite Kayla on because she's taking what I found to be this kind of small entity, and it's growing and expanding, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Yes. We won't get there yet. It's growing and expanding, and I find that fascinating and exciting, and so I wanted to have you on to kind of share where you're going and how you got there. But to kind of go back and help catch our listeners up, give us an intro to Marketing Mainstreet. Did I say that right?
Yeah,
okay.
You got it.
Marketing Mainstreet.
You got it.
And give us an intro and a little bit of a background of how you got into that.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Kayla Norris. I own Marketing Mainstreet. I moved back to Northwest Arkansas in 2019. I spent most of my career right after college in Tulsa. I had transitioned from the content side of television to the sales side of television. And yeah, I was looking at who are these people with good cars on that side of the building who leave at 5 o'clock. I don't want to become that person. No, there were a couple of things that happened in between, but I did know that was something that I would be interested in pursuing. I was raised by small business owners, so I love working with small business owners. So I started the agency in 2021, right on the tail end of COVID. I had seen this need in Northwest Arkansas for small business owners to have someone. They're not quite ready to hire someone full-time, benefits, do all the things. They're not quite ready for that. But they needed some help. They needed some support. There are all kinds of larger agencies and digital-only agencies in Northwest Arkansas that work with the vendors and Walmart, these major corporate entities, which rightfully so. We are, one of the largest retail hubs in the world. We also have a thriving local business economy, and this was a need for so many small business owners who knew they needed some marketing support, couldn't afford, these larger agencies didn't really want to hire out of market, but they needed some help. So that's where we come in.
So speaking about growth, I do have to ask you, I don't think I've ever asked you this before directly, so I'm curious. Marketing Mainstreet, your office is actually located, is it on Main Street in Rogers? Is that?
I did everything I could to find a Main Street
Okay. So it's not on Main Street,
no.
But it is in downtown Rogers, and it is just like a storefront, right on the front.
Yes.
So where did the name come from then?
Right. So I was trying to figure out how to communicate that this is for your Main Street mom and pop businesses. Sure. That's why our tag is Modern Marketing Vintage Values. You're going to come in and sit down with us on a couch or sit at our big, conference table that's not a conference table. It's it's just like this old antique table and, be welcomed in. We're going to have sweet tea or coffee. I always say, let's talk over some sweet tea because that's just who I am.
Perfect.
And that is where Main Street came from. Whenever I was envisioning an actual storefront agency location, which I didn't think would happen until now. I just celebrated 2 years in business, and I didn't think this would happen until today.
Yeah.
But it happened so much faster than that. I was thinking, where are those downtown hubs? Where are these thriving places, that are growing in Northwest Arkansas and downtown Rogers on 2nd Street, unfortunately.
Oh, well.
But it works. I love it.
Yeah, no, I thought that's fantastic. I think that's one of the things that kind of drew me into you because we can transition now. So a lot of what we're going to talk about today is this idea of growth. And as you said, this was the end of 2021 that you started the agency.
Yes.
And now you have a prime, physical location in downtown Rogers and a team of...
So we are 3 full-time and 3 part-time, so 6 total.
That's awesome. Okay, 3 full-time and 3 part-time. So what I want to dive into is this idea of hiring. There's a lot of people in the workplace, a lot of people either owners or even want to be owners, and they're thinking to themselves like, I want to grow, I want to expand, but hiring somebody like is scary for a lot of people.
Absolutely, it's terrifying.
Yeah, it's terrifying. So, but that's something that you feel like you've thrived in, and so I want to get some information, some nuggets from you on how you have overcome that and what your experience has been, some things you've learned. So let's just start in the general speaking. Like, what's your hiring theory, and how do you address that?
Sure. I'm gonna cough real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. My hiring theory actually was given to me by another successful business owner. One of my earliest clients, actually, whenever I stepped out on my own, David Lee, he is the owner at Mach 1 Financial. They recently relocated from Bentonville to Rogers. Fantastic organization, but he's just someone that I really trusted. I've seen this small business that he's grown into, to what it is today. And I knew something that he told me was going to be wise. And he may not even realize that what he said made this much of an impact on me.
Always the best advice.
And so, but what he said was, hire before you think you're ready. And that is what I did. I had some contract support in the very beginning with someone, actually a family member who, I'll start crying if I think too much about it, because she helped me so much to get this figured out and get started, and was just this shoulder to cry on and rant at and rave and all these things, but also just so encouraging, and still an encourager to this day. Misty, I love you.
Thank you, Misty.
Yes, but she's not here. And so we got to the point where it was like, okay, it's time for a physical local team member, and it was gonna come at a hit to me. I knew that business owners always pay their employees first.
Yeah.
And I was okay with it. So here comes along Rachel, and she took over all the creative parts of what we do.
Okay.
I knew that the content creation was keeping me tied to a desk. And I love the creative aspects of my job. I haven't produced a piece of content now in, when was May of 2021? That's how long, or 2022, that's how long it's been.
Right.
So,
So how did you decide that was going to be your first hire? And what I mean is, like, did it come down to you individually and what you felt like your strengths were, or did it come down to just what you needed in your business from a financial standpoint?
It was two things. So I knew I needed to not be at the desk anymore. I'm also the client facing, the external position, and so I knew that it needed to be a person who could sit at the desk and manage the content, and who wanted to do that.
Right.
Who was very, very hungry in that role, and has just blossomed into it. It's been so fun to watch her journey. But also, it's finding someone that you can trust in it.
Yeah.
Because you're basically asking for a full-time babysitter.
Well, yeah, but also, like, in this particular, like, that is your product.
Yes.
Right.
And we were at that time a single income home. So my husband was in law school.
Okay.
And I knew I needed to I knew that I could not grow properly without having this extra set of hands, and the business became something that I didn't expect. I was going to take 6-7 accounts, keep us alive until he was done with school, and call it a day. The need was so great that I kept growing, and I don't know if there's just some codependency in there or what, but I just couldn't turn people away who needed help.
Yeah.
So so Rachel came in to take over content creation. I went out to meet with clients, be available, and that was where we started in terms of my first hire.
Okay, this is great. So essentially, you had some skills that came from your previous work experience, and you started implementing those. The intention wasn't to have a full-blown business/agency that was just taking over Northwest Arkansas, but but rather to just meet some needs and to be able to help your husband get through school.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the biggest motivators, right?
That was where it started.
And so you're doing the work, and the work is obviously good because people are talking about it, and then more businesses coming to you, and you're to the point where you're saying, if I want to grow, then it's going to take somebody else to come in.
Yeah.
Okay, those are
Well,
great
we
reasons.
were referral only. For a marketing agency, I've done a terrible job of my own marketing, of self-promotion and everything. Everything was referral. So I just had to be available for client meetings and then all the onboarding. And then also, there's just the business management portion of it. Keeping QuickBooks in check and all the day-to-day minutia that is terrible, that you just don't want to have to deal with, but it has to be done.
Too many hats that an owner has to wear, especially a small business owner. Okay, this is awesome. So that was hire number one. We won't go through everybody, but
Sure.
like what led to hire number two and hire number three?
So it became, my next hire was, what's the stuff I don't want to do? That I'm sick of doing, that is taking away the joy from doing this. And it was all the clerical.
Okay.
It was the, I am invoicing, keeping QuickBooks, correct. Doing all of the clerical portion of running a business, making sure that all the bills get paid, all that stuff. I had never done that in any role before. I was losing my joy in operating my business by doing that all the time.
Yeah.
It has taken a few people to get to the right person to help us with this.
Okay.
But I found her and I'm keeping her. I told her today I love her more than my husband. Oh, no. But I wasn't going to tell him that, but I guess I've officially told him that.
Okay, so this is an awesome segue, because I think this is one of the biggest fears that someone faces is, well, when I hire somebody, like, what if they don't work out?
Yeah.
So tell us about how you handled that. So you've been through a couple for that role. They obviously didn't work out.
Yeah.
Like, how did that feel? How did you handle it? And how did you find the right person?
Well, some of it comes down to, what I could afford at the time, too,
Right.
So, I felt there was a season where I was in a kind of like a beggars can't be choosers, but also blessed with no matter that journey, like every person that came through the door ultimately was a stepping stone in the right direction.
Awesome.
I don't have anyone that's no longer with us, and that list is not long, but I don't have anyone that I look back on and go, oh, what a mistake. There's, there is the pain aspect of I spent so much money getting that person, and I have new respect for all of my employers that I've gone before, even though they weren't small business owners. I know that it's not quite as painful for them, but you invest energy and money and you're all these resources.
Energy,
yes,
because you're making connections with them and trying to understand who they are.
All these things, they're not there anymore. Yeah, so I had to beyond getting to where I can hire the proper caliber of person. I had to learn. I thought that this was a skill set that I needed, but I really don't. This is something that I can, spend on a virtual assistant. For significantly less than a month, and make this person, have them focus their energy on things that are more important, things that I don't want just anyone having access to. So it was kind of a lot of trial and error for me of like, what is the right person, and an expensive trial and error, but I've been trying to remind myself to give myself grace. My business just turned 2 years old.
Sure.
My business just turned 2 years old a week and a half ago. So I've connected with a lot of other business owners who have had these pain points and who have gone before me, and I can see, okay, we've all made these mistakes. We've all done things like this. So there was a lot of comfort in that. And when it came to finding the right person, for me, she came to me.
Okay.
And, she said, I want to be a part of what you're doing. And that was a several months long, relationship where we just kind of had to figure out, like, because she was in a great position, where she was, even financially, and just how long she'd been there and everything. But our values were in alignment in terms of, her wanting more time with her family, and I'm very I have worked with bosses who made me feel like my time and my time off was not as valuable as my time there.
Oh.
You know,
Right.
that I was, you know, kind of a 24/7 employee and everything, and that is not the environment that I am trying to create. And so I think she wanted this freedom to, you know, be a more present wife and mother, and that's the atmosphere that, you know, that I've really tried to cultivate. So I think that she was, you know, naturally drawn to that, but also I get told all the time that my passion for small business like shines through, which I'm so thankful for. And for me, it's just like, it's the same as the air I breathe. I absolutely love what I do. But I think that she kind of caught that contagion, you know, in a way that she wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah, okay,
So.
that's fantastic. Well, there's a saying that the only guarantees in life are death and taxes.
That's so true.
And so for me as a business owner, I'm not so much concerned about like hiring somebody and then that costing me, because I agree with your point that it's a learning process, and I really don't think that there's a perfect way to do it. I think the nugget to get out of this is that you just have to make the first step.
You have to do it. You have to be willing to take that leap of faith, and if it's not working out, and figure that out sooner rather than later.
Right.
And I have made the mistake of, and not just here in Marketing Mainstreet, but as a manager in other positions,
Sure.
of keeping someone longer than I should have.
Mm-hmm.
Something that was really good for me to hear is I am not doing them a service by keeping them in a position that they are not qualified for. And not just qualified for, but they're going to thrive better in a position that they are more suited for.
Right.
I won't name names, but one of my very first hires, she was a teacher, incredibly gifted teacher. She came in and worked for us over the summer, hoping to, you know, she wasn't going to go back to teaching.
Mm-hmm.
She's a teacher. She's a teacher.
So
she needed to go back to teaching.
Yeah. Okay.
And I love that she's where she needs to be.
Yeah, well, what I was going to share regarding, you know, guarantees of life, like as a business owner, like one of my concerns, I think, like my bigger fear versus the cost to the company is, you know, you bring someone on and, you know, what are the statistics? Like, you know, the statistics aren't very good that a business survives for, you know, for 5 years.
Right.
And so my biggest fear is that something does happen and the business doesn't make it. And now this person, like what you're sharing, like has sacrificed what they had to come over, and then
You're speaking to my nightmares.
I know. Well, and that's what I'm really trying to get to is like that's the bigger nightmare, right? Because then something does happen, which anybody that's been in business before knows that yes, there's a lot in your control, but there's still a ton that's out of your control.
Absolutely.
And next thing you know, it could be gone.
Well, when COVID hit, the first thing that everyone cut was marketing.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I was in a position where we were dealing with just order cancellations, marketing order cancellations all day long for months.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to talk about like a nosedive to your mental health.
Mm-hmm.
That was rough. But then also seeing the impact that it was having on my team was so horrible. But on the other side of that, before her name is Faith, before my most recent hire, Faith left her position and is with us now, I texted her, called her, I don't know, a little bit before she put in her notice and said, I had a nightmare last night that you came on to my team and then everything crashed and burned and you and your husband and your children ended up being homeless.
That's the ultimate nightmare.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a full-blown nightmare
Yes.
that I am having in the middle of the night.
Yes.
And that's just where my anxieties are creeping up. And she's like, well, okay, first of all, it's not a thing that's going to happen.
Right.
We'll stay alive. That's not on you to keep us alive. You know,
Yeah.
It was just, but that is so the thing of, if I fail now,
Mm-hmm.
it impacts more than just me.
Mm-hmm.
And, which honestly is the best motivator.
Yeah.
It can paralyze you or it can motivate you.
I think what you just shared is one of the like qualifiers I find in like a good employee versus a quote unquote bad employee. But this mentality of you're not here to save me. Like I'm here to serve you.
Mm-hmm.
And the employees that are at an organization with the assumption that, look, I'm here, you're here to take care of me, then I think that's where you find the discontent.
Right.
But versus those employees that are there and they're like, I appreciate this opportunity, I'm here to make the organization better, and that are invested, that's where you find like your better hire. So for you, potential business owners or business owners are looking for people, that might be a great like qualifier, is like finding out kind of where they stand and
That philosophy.
Yeah, that philosophy, and even like what you said, you know, Faith's like, hey, you don't need to have nightmares for me, like we're gonna be okay.
Yeah,
you
we're
know?
gonna live.
Yeah, we're gonna live. Like I think that's a great way to determine where somebody's at and how they're going to respond in certain situations.
That was, I mean, as ridiculous as it sounds, this was my first person that I'd ever hired that left a job for me.
Right.
So it was like
Yeah.
this terrifying experience of, what if I can't catch her well?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, so again, we'll kind of like put a cap on this, but essentially, we're the person that's trying to decide if they should hire or not. The answer is most likely yes. And I like your point. Say it again. Your advice.
Hire before you think you're ready.
That's right.
And obviously, you have to be careful with that.
True.
You need to have some gross revenue first.
Right. But hire before you think you're ready. But then also like be okay like hiring like at the right phase. And so
Yes.
you might not be able to afford the best of the best, and you need to be okay with that. But that's also okay, because then you'll have a chance to learn more about your processes and what you need to implement in order to get that best of the best.
A proper person, the proper fit is making you money.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, if you bring someone on and, I mean, they're supposed to take something off of your plate, right?
Right.
Freeing you up to do ultimately things that
To drive more revenue,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, especially
So-
as a business owner, that's, yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of my that's my qualifier.
Okay.
You know, if at a certain point this person's not making me money, I look at myself first,
Mhm.
and I go, what have I not taught them? How have I not made myself available? You know, what did I do too quickly or not fast enough? You know, that's kind of where I have to start. But at a certain point, I also have to look at them.
Yeah.
So
let's transition a little bit and go back to your first hiring, because I think this is a good like transition spot for a lot of, at least mentally, for a lot of business owners. And that is, so you hire, you assign them tasks, but let's bring up the topic of delegation, okay? And you assign somebody tasks. Now in this particular case, you're assigning the task that you were previously doing. How easy/hard was it to completely let go of those tasks, and you weren't constantly trying to interject yourself in the work that needed to be done?
I don't know if it's because I have had really good advisors prior to this, and early in my business's early days of you know, these different people in different positions. I have a friend who he helps CEOs become the most effective that they can. I mean, like that's what he does professionally. And he gave me so much wisdom very early on of, you have to be willing to let it go. And instead of micromanaging, I worked with Rachel in the beginning to show her, like, here's my process. Feel free to improve upon it. If you're hiring someone, you should trust them to do what you have hired them to do.
Right.
Again, great advice that I got from a different boss, several years ago, Pete Waldrop. He's like, if I'm hiring you to do something, I should be able to trust you to do it. And if you're not doing it, then we have a different conversation. So it was, I'd show her how to do it. How can you improve upon it? But also, just letting go. Just letting go.
Well, but I like what you said. What I'm hearing is when you said, feel free to improve upon it. Because what that really means is that you have a huge sense of humility. Because despite being the business owner and you have already done this thing, you're saying to yourself, I can't improve the way that I want to improve because my time is limited now, right? So you're bringing this person in to take over this project.
Yeah.
But then I think the key point that I'm hearing is then empowering them to improve it.
Yes.
And being humble enough to accept the improvements and not just assume that the way you had it was the best that's ever going to be.
I have made enough mistakes and failed enough times in my life to know that I don't have it all figured out.
Yeah.
So bringing people in and trusting them that that they know what they're doing because they have shown me that they're qualified to do this, and then giving them the freedom to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That was a huge step for me, and it has paid off tremendously. I don't think I would have grown if I hadn't just said, here you go.
Yeah.
Like, let's do this together. And treated them as partners as much as employees.
Being willing to be wrong, though.
Absolutely.
Because that's it.
Absolutely. I am wrong more often than I'm right.
Right.
So-
Right. And I think that it's not always something we want to admit to ourselves because we feel like we should know all the answers. But the truth is, and again, for anybody that's listening that's trying to make that like first step or maybe the second step, but nobody knows what they're doing.
None of us knows what we're doing.
That's a strong statement, but I'm just like, if we knew everything we were doing, then there would be no growth. There'd be no progress.
We're all figuring it out. And if you can figure it out together instead of siloed, you're so much better off.
Yeah. So delegation for me is and I say for me, what I'm saying is what I'm hearing from you, which I'm loving this right now. I'm like, is being willing to let go, right, but also empower your team to improve upon the project.
Yes.
And admitting, not admitting in a negative way that you're wrong, but just admitting that you don't have it all figured out.
Well, sometimes it's as simple as, so with what we do, automation is a big part of what we do.
Right.
And in simplifying those processes for getting creative out the door as much as we can, so that our time is managed better. And so sometimes it's as simple as giving your team the right software.
Right.
If they came to me and they said, hey, we've done some research on these different marketing automations because the one we're working with is just so. I was like, okay, whatever's gonna help you guys free up more time. We're more effective for our clients whenever our clients purchase us by hours. And so if we can reduce the amount of time we're doing on nonsense, getting things out the door, if we can reduce the amount of time we're doing that, we've got more time to shoot productive video that's going to ultimately result in growth and ROI for them.
Right.
So.
Right, or follow up with the client and have that meaningful conversation.
Yep.
Right. Okay, cool. I think we hit pretty good on this idea of hiring. Now, one thing we mentioned, actually, I wanted to hit on this. So prior to going live here, you talked about the importance of being ready to let somebody go quickly. Would you expound on that in the idea of hiring?
Yeah, so what I mean by that, there's grace period for everyone, right? Thankfully, the situations have resolved themselves for me, of them recognizing pretty much at the same time that I did that they weren't the right fit.
Gotcha.
But preparing for that conversation of this isn't working out. And again, because there was this emotional side of me that's like, oh, I failed this person. I'm doing wrong by them by letting them go. How are they going to take care of themselves? There was a very wrought feeling within myself of I'm doing something wrong. But in reality, I'm doing something right by them and myself. Because again, if they're in a position that they're not suited for, then they're not going to thrive. So
yeah. So that's an interesting way to have that conversation, is just more open and feel like, do you feel like you're thriving? Do you feel like this is an environment that allows you to grow?
Yeah.
And if not, then you basically kind of answer it yourself.
Yeah.
Or they answer it themselves as they're. Okay, cool. Okay, so hiring / firing, and then the idea of delegation and how important that is for a business owner in separating yourself, but empowering your team. I think we're getting close to this, so to kind of wrap this up as well. How do you now interact with your team? Right? And what I mean is, maybe just share a little bit from your perspective. How do you interact with them, and do you share everything with them? And then if not, why? And just kind of share with what that dynamic
Sure.
is like.
We have a really open door policy, and I also try to be pretty transparent about financials, things like that, and basically so that they can see we're headed in the right direction.
Oh, that's nice.
That's why I do that. But also, I can't bring them into everything.
Right.
So there's a need for boundaries, which has resulted in me looking for small business community. We've become friends in this, and there are so many people that I've met along this journey they get it.
Mm-hmm.
So now my relationship with my team is I actually try to be out of their hair.
Okay.
I really do. They're more productive when I am not present.
Oh, wow.
This is on me.
Yeah.
I come in and I want to talk and I want to see what's going on.
Wait,
And
just real quick on that. They do work in office, right?
Yeah.
This isn't remote.
No.
Okay. So in office, but you're saying that by you not being there, they're more productive?
Yeah, and it's not on them, it's really on me.
Okay.
I come in and I want to get status updates. That micromanager, starts to really creep in
Right.
when I am doing them a service if I am out meeting with potential new business and
Right.
doing that side of it. I have hired them to do their job, so I'm going to trust them to do their job. Obviously, I come in and we have these team meetings and I'm always available for them, but I try to not micromanage.
And do you think this isn't out as in like you don't show up for days? This is just
Right.
like out on a daily basis,
Right,
right?
yeah.
So I'm hearing this and I'm thinking like how I would operate. So I'm seeing like touch points like
Yes.
on a daily basis.
We have recurring meetings, that are on our calendar and stuff like that.
When it comes to giving them the space to actually do their work, you're finding that they are more productive and more creative when you're just not right there.
While we're doing this,
Yes.
they're all at a production shoot
Yes.
for one of our clients.
Right.
And I'm going to go join at the tail end of it, but they're out there doing that.
Gotcha.
And so I'm freed up to do this because there's this part of me that has a really hard time not being there,
Right.
not doing the things. But then when I see the work on the other side of it, I'm like, I would have messed it up. I would have made it worse.
I didn't think I was going to go this direction, but like, how do you feel like your clients are receiving that? And what I mean by that is you're not present.
Yeah.
And on one hand, I could see one argument saying that, well, the business owner isn't present, so like they don't really care about me. Versus, wow, the business owner isn't present, but this team is taking care of me, and like, look how well that Kayla has her ducks in a row on getting the work done. So like, what's your experience on those?
I'm extremely picky about who wears my name tag. So anyone who's going out there, I'm representing my business, my brand. I trust that they're doing it well. Also, I have made these introductions. I've not passed that torch. If something negative happens, I'm the one getting the phone call. I haven't, passed on this relationship or anything, and I still touch base with my clients, all of my clients weekly. Right. I just may not be on every single production shoot.
Gotcha.
Because that's my creative team's
Sure.
job.
Sure. Okay, that's great. That's a great way to balance that. Cool. Wow, we've touched on a lot of things. We're coming up on time here. Any, I guess, last thoughts that maybe you've thought while I've talked and didn't give you a chance to say it? Like, what are any last, tips, hints, nuggets?
I would just say that being a small business owner is hard. And it is, you're not crazy. You're not crazy.
Right.
You're not crazy in that, this is really tough at days. And I know I have had those moments where I just want to lay down on the couch and stare at the ceiling and go, all right, I'm going to shut it all down. There are days where it is really, really tough.
Right.
And then accepting that everyone's not for me and I'm not for everyone. So that has been huge in helping me maintain some level of inoffensibility in how I operate my business,
But ultimately, do you feel like your team, and meaning those
Yeah.
you've hired now, have made it harder or easier?
Oh, so much easier.
So much easier. So this is a huge point for our listeners.
Huge.
You're on the fence there, and you're saying to yourself, wow, if I hire someone, it's going to make it way harder. And yes, to a degree, it could.
And there's going to be, there's growing pains.
There's growing pains,
Growing pains.
but in the big scheme of things, it's made the whole experience easier.
Absolutely.
Or at least better. We'll put it that way. Maybe not always easier, but better.
It has definitely, it's definitely made it better for me. And whenever I got started, I was the one running around, shooting the video, taking the pictures, writing the copy, editing all, putting together all the production shoots. Doing all the things.
Focus is so divided.
And today, that would be like a 400-hour work week. It'd be crazy.
Yeah.
So I can't.
Impossible.
Yeah, there's just no way that I could do it. So, in order for me to continue accepting new business, I had to do it.
There's a very strong, solopreneur, kind of like lone wolf kind of mentality, I feel like, especially in the younger generation. And I'll put myself in there as well, because it's enticing to be like, I can do it all myself, and like, I will, and like, it's up to me. And yes, and as an owner, like, if anyone's going to move the business, it's going to be you, right? But I'm also very much in that, like, nothing grows or happens without a team and without help and without support.
Yeah.
And so shifting away from that, like, it's all on me and I'm going to be the one to make this happen. I'm not a proponent of that. I'm very much of it's a collective that makes an entity grow, and it makes it. You look at any person, individual. Let's just do that. You look at someone like a celebrity, for example. Yeah, great. Like, they're a celebrity and that's their name and that's the brand that we all know. But how many hundreds of people are behind them making them a celebrity?
Yep.
That's a better comparison. But same thing's true with a company. There's no company that's here today that's been longer than 5 years that is just one person doing it by themselves.
It's impossible, and it depends on what your goals are.
Yeah.
What your vision is for your business. If you're totally content, with the accounts that you have, and making what you make, and if that's where you're at today, so be it. There's no knock on that. For me, it really came out of there's a need.
Yeah.
People were. I did not want to turn people. I didn't want to turn people away. So I either had to adapt, or I had to reject this business and reject their needs, and I was really uncomfortable doing that.
Right. Cool. Awesome. Well, before we end, I'll give you one more chance to kind of plug just your business, your socials, where can people go to find your business, to find more about you?
Yeah, we're Marketing Mainstreet. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We are doing better at being super present on all of those platforms. I finally had to have that conversation with my team of, we have to start treating us like we treat our clients. Yeah, right. We have to do it. Right. So you can find us and engage with us there. We would love to meet you. We are your resource for small business marketing and advertising efforts in Northwest Arkansas.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Kayla. It was fantastic to have you here. I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope I got a lot out of it. I hope that the listeners have as well, especially someone who is on the fence on deciding if they're going to hire or not and trying to make that next step. I hope this has helped you today. So thank you again, and tune in next time to Workplace Wisdom Podcast.